Righto guys, well today, Joe's been kind enough to actually take us around a turf farm, just to give us a look of what sort of goes on.
Yep.
So I think we'll look at a few things today. We'll look at how turf farms are started in the sense of planting out a new field or replanting a field.
Yes.
We'll look at cutting turf and we'll look at mowing turf.
Yep.
So stick around guys, it's going to be good. A lot of people probably don't know this, but when you start to plant out a new paddock, maybe for the first time, maybe after it's been harvested, how we go about that? What's the go? Is this is obviously what we use, or
this is the machine. So all the grasses we grow, and the majority of grasses in Australia are warm season, so they're not seeded.
Right.
They're planted from live vegetative material. So we have to get it from full slabs into little tiny sprigs or stolons and plant them in the ground. So that's what this machine does. It's a planter. So we've got a conveyor up here. 2 or 3 guys stand in the middle there.
Yep.
A pallet of full turf, just like you get delivered to your home, sits there.
So you'll cut like normal turf?
Yes, normal turf.
Turf cutter comes along, rolls it up, and then you grab it and you feed it up into here.
Grab the rolls or slabs, whatever they are, we feed them into this conveyor here. There's a mechanism inside here that basically chews or rips the grass up into tiny little sprigs, into tiny little pieces. They then drop down these chutes and they get tined and pushed into the ground.
So when you say tined,
so this one here, they'll go up and down and they'll push the sprigs into the ground.
So it sort of plants.
It'll plant it in it and follow these splices, and then this big roller will follow it.
Right.
And it'll further push them into the ground, and then we get our pre-emergency and our water on straight from that.
Right.
And the crop will then grow over. But the beauty of warm season grasses is when you harvest them, I don't know if you've ever seen buffalo paddocks, they leave ribbons in them.
Yes.
That enables the grass to actually grow back, so you don't have to replant every time you harvest, which is a great thing about turf grass. Common question we get is how long do they take? So it depends on the time of year and depends on the cultivar. Tiff, Tuff, Kikuyu, fast growing grasses like that, at the right time of year, 6, 7, 8 months, you'll get a crop. Sir Walter, Zoysia, and a few of the others that are a bit slower, you work around a year to 18 months for Zoysia, probably. But
so 18 months, so from the time you plant or replant, we should say, it's going to be 18 months before that paddock's harvested again.
In this climate,
to the end user.
Correct, yes.
So when it comes to mowing, so you've got a few acres here. Obviously you've got a couple of these, I'm guessing?
Yeah, there's a couple of these. I think there's 2 of these 7 metres and a couple of what we call 10-foot decks, which are smaller mowers.
Yeah, right. So 7 metres wide each pass. How often are you cutting turf and in the growing season, obviously, in the growing season?
In the growing season. So this time of year, we've had a lot of heat and a lot of humidity lately. So Norm, who mows here, was just telling us they're cutting 3 times a week at the moment.
3 times a week?
Just to try and keep on top of it. Yeah, it'll back off. I think normal summer mowing would be twice a week.
Right. So those of you who love mowing, maybe look for a job at a turf farm. You're always looking for mowing people, aren't you?
We're looking for people. No, we got a good one here at the moment, apparently. So
no, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So yeah, right. Oh, well, that's a dream job. Tractor's pretty fancy too.
Tractor's fancy. It's what's that? 110 horsepower tractor.
110 horsepower.
So, yeah, it's got aircon and music, so it's a pretty good job to sit in there these days. It can be a little bit monotonous when you've got 250 acres to do.
I reckon there's people out here watching this channel that would not agree with you there.
Well, they can come and do it. We're looking for people.
Yeah. Maybe I should get a job here.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Oh, rightio, no worries. when it comes to irrigating, I notice a lot of turf farms are generally found on river flats.
Yes.
You guys are somewhat more dry land, I guess.
Yep.
And a little bit more undulating. So when it comes to irrigating, you guys probably don't have the same amount of water available to you?
No, we don't. So we only have what we catch in dams. We don't have an allocation out of a river or anything.
Right.
So we're fortunate where we are. We get, 1,300 mil of rain a year. So we do get a lot of rain on average. Yeah.
Yep.
Last year we had 3.5 meters or something like
Wow.
that. Something ridiculous like that. So we have to find another way to do it. So most turf farms, they have pivot irrigation, center pivot, lateral pivot, which is the big long carriages of sprinklers basically that roll up and down a paddock or around a paddock, so they can press a button and water the whole paddock. We can't do that, so we use travelling irrigators. Now, these are run by this big long hose here, and they travel from one end of the paddock to the other, and they move really slowly, and this gun ejects water along the paddock. So there's a lot of labour involved in moving these around, and they only irrigate sections of the paddock at a time. You can't press a button and irrigate the whole lot. So it's a little bit more labour intensive, a little bit more work, but still, you can still water your paddocks.
So from that, I'm guessing when it comes to fertilising, you've got to be a little bit more particular about that as well, because you haven't got quick access to a lot of water. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very fair to say. So again, if you've got a pivot irrigation, you can sort of fertilise your whole paddock whenever you want, press a button, water it. We have to be more conscious of rainfall and try and work our fertiliser program around rain.
Right, okay.
Or use different products that don't need irrigating in immediately, because it's just too much work for us to fertilise the whole farm and try and drag these travelling irrigators around and get it to water in.
Makes sense. So this is what does the business? This is
what does the business. This is our turf harvester.
Yep.
I mentioned before that it's a new U-Boot piece of equipment. It's not that new now. There's plenty of new ones on the market, but the technology in it is pretty new. So these are what we call an auto stacker.
Righto.
So that hydraulic arm at the back there, that used to be 2 people stacking turf and 1 person driving it. So, you can cut turf very accurately, very quickly now. As a pretty back-breaking job stacking turf. If you've laid turf before, they're pretty heavy sometimes. So to automate this process was great. Like, we used to do on a manual stacker with 3 guys at a pinch, you'd do 400 metres an hour. Every farm's different. Here, you can pump out 1,000 metres an hour when the turf's good.
Yeah, right. Wow.
So that's on an average day.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah. So how it works, I don't know how much is going to come up on camera here, but there's a blade down the bottom here, a cutting blade, which actually cuts the grass up and separates it from the dirt, essentially. It goes up the conveyor. We've got a drop blade here. That once it gets to the length of the roll, it'll go bang, cut it up. Then the piece of turf rolls up this conveyor. These are all sensors here to tell when each part it's time to start working. This is a roll machine. If it's a slabber, it just goes up as a slab and the arm stacks 1 slab at a time. The beauty of a roll machine is you can stack 5 rolls at a time. So it comes up this rolling mechanism here. That puts it into a roll. It filters down here. Essentially what that's doing there, it's not quite square. You get 5 rolls on the conveyor. This arm comes down, picks up the 5 rolls and stacks them on the pallet.
Yeah, right, wow.
So that's where we get the speed from. Is instead of 1 person handling 1 roll at a time,
it's picking up 5.
5 people handling 5 at a time.
Nice.
The drivers love it. It's a nice air-conditioned
environment.
Radio cab. And here, this is folded up now. So normally the pallet holder here is twisted out. Again, it's made narrower for traveling purposes. And that's an automatic pallet injector. So instead of getting off and throwing another pallet on, pallets can be 40, 50 kilos when they're like this. This pallet injector, as soon as it's finished, the harvester will drop the pallet onto the ground. It won't stop harvesting, and it'll, I'm using my hands a lot here, and it'll inject another pallet straight onto the machine, and they'll continue to cut from there. So again, it's time saving, it's labor saving, and it's saving a lot of people's back.
Okay, so after the turf has been cut, Joe,
Yes.
what's, as in cut for the customer, I should say, what is the next step? What happens?
So what happens then is it's all stacked into a loading bay.
Yep.
Nice big truck like this one will come over and get loaded up for the day. So turf farms are unique when compared to different agricultural businesses because they don't just grow and harvest a product, they deliver the product as well. So there's a lot of investment and a lot of equipment required.
So from go to woe.
From go to woe, they do the whole thing. So they've got a lot of trucks like this one you see behind here, and they get loaded up for the day and they get their delivery route for that particular day loaded in. So it can be one drop of 600 metres or it can be 10 drops of 60 metres. So it does vary. They call them a milk run. It does vary quite a lot, but it's made a lot easier now because of the technology we have in the logistics side of the business. So when we get orders put in, most of these computer systems can map out a route, you know, the best route possible straight away instead of the truck driver sitting there trying to
map his run, yeah.
Map his run. And you push a button and when you go into your next drop, the customer gets notified straight away.
So it's like a live kind of update.
In most instances, yes, the customer can live track their delivery.
Yeah, right.
The truck pulls up at site. All these trucks here have truck mounted forklifts on the back. So the forklift comes off the truck, gets the pallet and unloads it. And fortunately now, what a lot of turf businesses do, including this one, is they have push-off pallets. So they can push the turf off onto the ground and take the pallet with them so the customer's not stuck with a stack of pallets.
So not left behind.
Not left behind, which is really good. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Excellent. Well, that brings us to the end of our little look around the turf farm here today. And once again, thank you very much for having us and letting us have a look around, and really appreciate that, and hope you guys have enjoyed a little look at, I guess, behind the scenes.
Yeah,
as to sort of what happens. A lot of people just potentially order their stuff online and then it turns up at their door. But this gives you a little insight as to what really goes on. So anyway, guys, look, have a fantastic weekend. I hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you next time on the Aussie Lawn.